can tell you one thing for sure. Volunteering has almost exclusively very positive outcomes on health and aging. What I cannot tell you is the mechanisms through which volunteering works. Is it the activity itself? Is it the purpose of having something to do? Is it the social interaction that you gain from volunteering? I really don't know what it is, but I can guarantee you that volunteering will bring positive outcomes in 99 out of 100 people.
Hello, and welcome to Not Born Yesterday, a podcast dedicated to older adults and the challenges and joys of aging. I'm Miriam Goodman. Not Born Yesterday examines the problems and solutions of growing older today. We bring you the wisdom and voices of experts in the field of aging and offer tips on how to feel your best, use your lifetime skills and experience, and make the coming months and years as fulfilling as possible.
I'm Lynn Winter-Gross. Not Born Yesterday is brought to you by Next Village San Francisco, a local nonprofit providing older adults with support to help age in place, and by Assisted Living Locators, a San Francisco Bay Area advisory service helping families make informed decisions about senior care and living options.
Today on Not Born Yesterday, we're discussing what happens to your brain after retirement. Retirement is a great concept, and millions of us do it every year. But you may not realize that the drastic change in daily life can affect your brain. Without the organized socialization that comes with work, as well as the mental challenges and structure provided, many retirees risk depression and cognitive decline. It's not just where did I put my keys or what's the name of the guy who lives across the street. But according to our guest today, without the routine your brain is used to, there can be a natural response to inactivity.
Ross Andel is a professor at Arizona State University. He studies cognitive aging and retirement. He believes that retirement can actually be an opportunity for improving cognition and mental health. We all know people who are busier than ever in retirement. And while a full calendar is not a requirement, there is evidence that we can avoid both depression and a decline in memory and reasoning if we challenge our brain. Professor Andel, welcome to Not Born Yesterday.
Thank you very much for having me and for the nice introduction.
We read some recent studies that found that some memory declined faster once people retired compared to their ability while they were still working. Have you found that going from a busy, more structured life to too much open time leads to memory loss and even depression?
Well, it's actually quite a difficult question to answer for a number of reasons. One of those is that sometimes people consider retirement because they just don't feel as cognitively sharp as they used to be. So the decline after retirement is simply a reflection of what was already happening before the person retired. In other cases, it's just that people consider retirement a long vacation, and that is a problem. You know, if that's the case. So, but then people who visit you say, every other month might start noticing that decline. It's just the fact how insidious it is becomes difficult for people to say, whoa, wait a minute. Let me just stop right here and become active again. It's, again, the concept of long vacation and the slow, insidious decline that's kind of behind the scenes that people don't detect quickly enough.
Are there some post-retirement activities that are more likely to stimulate the brain than others? And how do you measure that?
So there's so many options retirees have these days to stay active in different ways. It's the list just goes on and on. What's important here is that the person chooses something that they really enjoy to do. So if someone tells you, "Hey, Dad, you just retired. You need to do Sudoku." No, Dad, you really need to do crossword puzzles. So you need to walk regularly. None of it is necessarily true. What is true that one needs to remain active. And the best way to stick to some type of a good system of activity is to do what you enjoy to do. So you want to be going into retirement with a good plan of what you actually want to do once you enter retirement. Is there a hobby that you always wanted to engage in? Now you use your opportunity. Did you want to be more physically active? Sure, go for it right now, if you, of course, have the physical abilities. But even if you're limited in certain ways, you don't have to do a specific activity. If there's a lot of talk about brisk walking and you just cannot do it because your knee hurts when you do that, well, do something else. Go for a swim. Go for a bike ride. The benefits are pretty much the same. What's important is sticking with it, and you'll stick with it more if you do something that you enjoy doing.
I'm curious, how do you measure the brain before retirement and after retirement?
So there are a number of longitudinal studies that are designed to follow people over time. Some of them have been running for 25 years, like one that has a very fitting name, the Health and Retirement Study. It started in the early 90s and it's still around. So and these individuals would get cognitive tests every other year, sometimes for decades. So you can really see how they're changing after performing the same tests over and over. Initially, you might see a little bit of a practice effect once they get used to taking a certain test. But then over time, you can really start to see some very interesting changes with these types of data. And the health and retirement studies is just one out of many studies out there that follow people over a long time.
So, what's the biggest misconception people have about mental decline in retirement?
The misconception is that it's absolutely unavoidable. That if someone retires, there's just an automatic decline in cognitive function because they lose some of those aspects of work that are positive. Of course, work varies so much across individuals that it's kind of hard to really put everyone into the same boat. But for example, you have someone who has a sort of a occupationally complex work where they engage with other people on a regular basis. They maybe manage people and so on. And now once they go into retirement, they just don't have that. And the misconception is that just if you lose that, you'll automatically go down. There's scientific published evidence that people who increase their engagement in leisure activities after retirement see minimal decline. In fact, what we see also is that people who retire from jobs where they're not all that engaged, they're sort of low on complexity of work before they retire. If we see high engagement in leisure activities, they start to look better than people who retire from complex jobs but are not as active in retirement. So you can actually see a complete switch.
So you've written that the cognitive loss, which often comes with this inactivity, we're talking about can be reversed. So if someone has been spending too much time not really stimulating their brain at all, how has their brain been affected and how does one reverse cognitive decline?
So we need to be careful here. It's not a complete reversal. It's more that you can slow down cognitive aging. So age-related cognitive aging is just really difficult to reverse completely. But you can slow it down or eliminate it completely, where you become stable even for decades. There's a new area of research where the people who stay stable over decades, say between 60 and 80 years of age, are referred to as, very fittingly, super agers. So it's not like physical aging, it's specific to cognitive aging. So you cannot completely reverse it, but how you can slow it down substantially is that, again, you find ways to keep yourself active without kind of overthinking what you're actually doing, whether the activity is in the news as something that might be helpful. You really want to find something that you enjoy doing. There's a phenomenon that I should mention right away. It's called mental retirement. It's a state that occurs before people retire. At about 2 years before people retire, they sort of disengage intellectually from their work. They start thinking about retirement instead of engaging in their work. And you can actually track a slight decline in cognitive abilities at that point. That a person is simply distracted with this transition, this major transition in life. And that's something to pay attention as well, because this might be difficult to reverse. If you're transitioning into retirement and experiencing an accelerated cognitive decline during the transition because you cannot focus, you're unfocused, you're really deliberating this transition and whether it's a good idea and what you're going to be doing then that can kind of translate into changes in retirement and the ability of people to stay active, develop a new routine, and so on.
So, what are you recommending to those people that know they have 2 years left and are looking outside for what to do?
Be aware that there is something that we refer to as mental retirement. Stay engaged with your work, but also have a good plan for what you want to do once you retire. And again, considering retirement vacation is this trap that some people fall into. So you say, well, you know what? No, that's not true. That's not true. I just want to take, say, the next 2 months off.
And clean my garage.
Okay, sure, clean my garage. That's actually not that bad. What I was thinking is really need to catch up on some of those series that are out there that everybody's talking about. I didn't have a chance to do it because I'm engaged in work and all this. And now the first 2 months, I'll just catch up with everything. 2 months into your retirement, it might be difficult to kind of re-engage and really find that new good routine that you enjoy. You really want to, your purpose in life should be something that keeps you active.
So as a CEO who's more attached to his or her job and their business card, more likely to have this problem than somebody who's a farmer or an agricultural worker, somebody who's in construction or lower level down on the totem pole?
Absolutely. That's a great question. We do see that people who retire from these really managerially higher level positions do have a harder time adjusting to retirement. You do see kind of this precipitous decline in their cognitive skills. One of the reasons could be that they are performing at a high level. So there's more room to decline. Another one might be that even if they're staying active, they miss their previous identity. It's just something that it's just not that easy to adjust to it. You can say, well, I have this great hobby that I'll engage with, but how is my colleague, how is John doing at work now that I'm not there? How is that going? So it is a little bit of a difficult transition for these types of from these types of occupations. On the other side of the spectrum, people who are retiring from, say, physically demanding occupations, you can actually see some reversal in their cognitive aging, because now they're not stressed out about not being able to perform their job because their physical condition is not what it used to be. So they actually tend to perform better. There's also evidence that people who are from more tight-knit communities, sometimes it's sort of ethnically given, culturally given, those who have more support around them tend to suffer less from these potentially adverse effects of retirement than those who are more alone.
So we all know people who claim that they flunked retirement and they go back to work or pursue a new passion or purpose. Does that mean one solution for this decline would involve some kind of a plan before they retire?
Well, absolutely. I think that plan is just absolutely crucial for success after retirement. And, if someone is unretiring, it doesn't mean that they failed. It's just that they tried it out. It didn't work for them. They want to go back to work. There's really nothing wrong with that, because there's a lot to be said about that routine. We get used to that routine of having to get up in the morning and go do something that has some type of meaning to us. Maybe, getting income back is not a bad idea either. So there are many reasons why people go back. I really would not consider it a failure of retirement. It's just that you're trying one thing, then you try another thing. Maybe this is a brand new career. It's a great opportunity. You retire from your main job. Now, maybe you don't need to be making a lot of money, but, a little bit of income would be great, and you get to do something new.
We hear a lot about how important it is to have social interaction after you retire. How do people do that once they've retired and they don't have their job to go to, and they haven't created a lot of social activities while they were busy working?
That's another great question. I think that's part of the reason why people unretire, that they just miss that social interaction. And frankly, in this post-COVID era, we see that loneliness and social isolation have become much greater issues than they used to be. So even for people who are actively engaged in the workforce, even they might be somewhat lonely, and this just could be exacerbated by retirement. So that's a very valid point, and people just kind of need to pay attention to kind of maintaining some type of social network if they can. And sometimes, some older adults resist engaging through electronics, but sometimes that's really the only way how to stay engaged. And it's still so much better than becoming more socially isolated. So whatever it is, keep in mind that social engagement is it's just so natural to humans, and we need to try to maintain it the best we can.
Your research found that people who regularly volunteer in their retirement show slower rates of cognitive decline. Is this because they're involved in something outside themselves?
Oh, well, this is I wish I could answer that as a yes or no. I just cannot. There's so many motivations for being a volunteer. These could just be people who are generally giving. The altruism could provide a sort of this positive benefit to cognitive function. I would not be surprised. I can tell you one thing for sure. Volunteering has almost exclusively very positive outcomes on health and aging. What I cannot tell you is the mechanisms through which volunteering works. Is it the activity itself? Is it the purpose of having something to do? Is it the social interaction that you gain from volunteering? Is it the intellectual activity that's part of it? Is it the physical activity that you just have to, get up and go do something? I really don't know what it is, but I can guarantee you that volunteering will bring positive outcomes in 99 out of 100 people.
So, where does one start to find these new experiences that are going to keep their brains active?
Well, they should start just, looking backwards. What did you want to do when you were 20? What did you want to do when you were 30? Just look back and see what your passions have been. Sometimes those passions go unfulfilled because of our other commitments. It could be a commitment to family. It could be a commitment to having to have two jobs to make ends meet. And this is an opportunity to look back and see what it is that you want to do. I would not look into the news for the most shiny thing that everybody's telling you to do. Just look more inside and figure out what it is that you want to do now.
So we talk about the importance of community. What about socially isolating activities like crossword puzzles?
Yeah. Well, some people are just naturally kind of leaning towards those. They find comfort in that. And, you cannot say that there's anything wrong with that, necessarily. And many of them will be in a really good relationship, marital relationship, or they have a partner who they get along with very well, but they just like that time to be alone for an hour or two a day and do, whether it's crossword puzzles, whether it's reading, playing chess, just with a computer or with someone who knows where, all these activities are just still fun. You just kind of have to keep in mind that you cannot slide into complete social isolation. You have to reemerge and re-engage with people once you're done with that Sudoku.
So you mentioned AI for a minute, but do you think technology helps or hinders brain engagement in retirement?
I think it's both. It really is. And awareness is just very important. AI can be a companion to help you reach new levels in terms of, finishing a book or writing a blog. But it can also be a hindrance when you rely on it too much and you start turning off your own brain.
I get very frustrated when I'm at a place where a lot of people are around and everybody's looking at their phone, and I want to talk to people and create community, and people are just isolated on their phones.
Yeah, well, welcome to the 21st century. I don't know where it's going. I did hear that there's a little bit of a leveling off in how much time people spend on their computers, or on their electronic devices, including smartphones and so on. So hopefully we're kind of curbing that trend. But yeah, it's not going away. I wish I could help you.
So we talk a lot about purpose, and it comes up repeatedly in your work. And on the podcast, we talk about it a lot too. So can a sense of purpose replace the structure and the contribution of a career?
Well, the purpose gives your life the structure. I think structure and purpose go hand in hand. One cannot replace the other. So without purpose, it will be very difficult to maintain any structure. And without structure, it's hard to adhere to the purpose in your life, So it's part of it is discipline, and part of it is sort of this intrinsic motivation to pursue certain goals. Whether those goals are to spend more time with grandchildren, stay physically active, stay mentally active, be a good partner, be socially engaged. Really, it just doesn't matter. Be a good volunteer for the center that you're part of. Whatever it is. These two terms kind of go hand.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your research and your opinions with us today. Our guest is Arizona State University professor Ross Andel.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Today on our News You Can Use, we're talking about an activity that doctors say is good for our health. Join a political protest.
According to Dr. Ashwin Kotwal, a University of California geriatrician, many people think that as adults age, we're less valuable to the community and less productive. Actually, he says, older adults are some of the most engaged people in the community. Whether it's advocating on issues like immigration or foreign or domestic policy, older adults are a major presence in marches, in communicating with elected officials, and by visiting those in power.
Don't forget, we baby boomers are still an active generation. Many of us were out on the streets marching for civil rights, participating in the women's equality movement, and active in the anti-war protest 50 years ago. We felt like we had agency and that we made a difference. Now, many years later, with more available time, we're making our voices heard again.
So why are doctors saying that joining protests is good for our health and longevity? For starters, joining marches gets us out of the house and moving, adding to our weekly exercise goals. Marching with others for a cause we share gives us a sense of purpose and the satisfaction of being part of a community, all of which contribute to living longer.
So if you haven't joined a protest already, feel ready and become involved. It's not too late to find your community and get active. Remember, it's good for your health and it's good for our country. And that's our podcast for today. Our guest was Ross Andel. You can learn more about Next Village San Francisco at their website, nextvillagesf.org, or call them at 415-888-2868. To learn more about assisted living locators and their no-cost senior care coaching service, contact Brent Hensley at 415-766-0361. Our theme music is from Hook Sounds, and our engineer is Claire Winslow. We thank you for listening. We'd love to hear what you would like us to discuss and discover. Please contact us at notbornyesterdaypodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. All of these are free and let us know our audience better. Be well, stay strong, and remember, you weren't born yesterday. I'm Lynn Winter Gross.
And I'm Miriam Goodman.